I don't think you can do your best work if you write for somebody else, because you never know what that somebody else really thinks or wants. Stan Lee. Stan Lee, former editor-in-chief for Marvel Comics under this method of work, was the man that for so many years has won over the hearts of many. With a total of 99 films, 13 television series, and 32,000 comics, Marvel has been a big name in the business of entertaining for over 70 years now. Today, we will look at how effective Marvel has been in the methods used to reach such a large number of fans. With comics, movies, TV shows, video games, and more, Marvel fans are well equipped to fuel the obsession that so often occurs. The Marvel Cinematic Universe crosses several forms of media while telling multiple stories. These stories do not simply exist on their own or function individually, rather they work as one, while still entertaining the audience that is only interested in one movie or one comic book. The main mediums that Marvel uses to advance their storylines are movies, comic books, and video games. Each movie, comic book, and video game works to make the Marvel Universe more complex and diverse. The Marvel Comics came first, paving the way for the universe to make its entrance into the real world. This is where all the stories started to take shape. The characters were created and developed here first, which opened up the opportunity for movies later on. The comics move the stories in different ways than the movies do. The movies give the audience a better understanding of who each character is and works to connect the stories in a more tangible way, in a way that the audience can see. And fans are able to experience the universe in new ways when they play the multitude of video games that are set in the same realm. Marvel fans are given a myriad of stories that are all connected. So what is it called when a franchise is putting to use so many different forms of entertainment to advance the same story? Marvel is an example of a transmedia franchise. Transmedia is described by Henry Jenkins as a story that is developed using many different forms of media, with each new form telling a new part of the story. Jenkins describes transmedia storytelling as this: a transmedia story unfolds across multiple platforms with each new text making a distinctive and valuable contribution to the whole. In the ideal form of transmedia storytelling, each medium does what it does best, so that a story might be introduced in a film, expanded through television, novels, and comics. Its world might be explored through gameplay or experienced as an amusement park attraction. Common examples of transmedia stories are Star Wars and The Walking Dead. These stories are told in many different ways, such as TV series, websites, video games, roleplay, amusement parks, and more. The Marvel franchise does work in a similar way, yet it is a way that I feel is much more complex and intricate. Marvel does not just use the same universe with many different stories. Marvel crosses the stories over each other to expand the universe and better the experience for the audience. Why is Marvel considered a transmedia franchise? Marvel uses the same universe for almost all of its characters, with the exception of Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Movies like Spider-Man and Captain America are two independent movies, but one moves the other along. All the Marvel movies are closely related. To take away one superhero to shape into a totally independent character and movie series would be almost impossible. The Marvel Universe first came about through comics almost 80 years ago. One of the first characters was Captain America. Captain America comics came out in 1941 during World War II. In 2016, Captain America Civil War came out. The movie was widely appreciated and enjoyed. But how is it different from the comics that came out years before? How does it move the story in different ways than the comic? How does this example of two forms of a similar story prove that Marvel is an example of transmedia franchise and not just cross-media? Brett White addresses these questions in his article on CBR.com titled Marvel Movie vs. Marvel Comic, breaking down the opposing sides of Civil War. The article came out almost a month before the movie came out. Although White was not able to compare the comic with the movie directly, White was able to make some lofty predictions that were proven true after the movie was released. One main difference that White was correct about was how different the two would be. For example, the movie does not use as many characters that the comic does. White argues that this is because the movie did not have the rights to them at the time. I also believe that this is because the producers did not want to overload the story with too many characters that the audience did not know much about. Because this is a transmedia franchise, Marvel wants to make the story as a whole deeper and more interesting, but all while trying to keep movies independent and interesting on their own. Marvel did not add as many characters into the movie because they wanted to develop the characters that the audience already knew, in order to take all of the individual stories a few steps further. Though many may think the movie was just a less interesting version of the comics, from a transmedia standpoint, we can see that they are just different, emphasizing different parts of each story and moving different characters along. The difference is not to mark the movie as inaccurate or fallible, but to show that the movie takes the story in a different direction. If the comics and the movies were identical, Marvel would not be the example of transmedia franchise that it is. The point of transmedia is that many stories from different mediums contribute to one larger story or world. As I said before, with the exception of 2 stories, all Marvel characters exist in the same universe. This gives the creators so much room to cross stories. A very successful example can be found in the 2017 adaptation of Spider-Man. Tony Stark, or Iron Man, is a key character in Spider-Man's story. Stark plays the role of Iron Man's, or Peter Parker's, mentor. He takes him in and gives him an alibi as an intern. Throughout the movie, we see Spider-Man having flashbacks of his first days as a superhero. Spider-Man was introduced into Marvel world of movies in Captain America: Civil War. Peter Parker, or Spider-Man, is seen as a young kid trying to navigate the realm of being a superhero. Tony Stark's character is developed in the story as well. We see a different side of him as he takes Parker in as a mentee. Instead of being an egocentric industrialist, we see Stark as a helpful, caring egocentric industrialist. Marvel does a great job at keeping the characters true to who they are in the previous movies while still moving them forward and developing them further. One concern with transmedia entertainment is that people are not invested or committed enough to enjoy every part of the franchise. This can be difficult for creators because they may not know what to leave out and what they should add. Marvel does a good job at avoiding confused audience members by making each movie able to stand up on its own. With the use of flashbacks and exposition scenes, Marvel movies can be enjoyed by fans that have not previously seen the movies related to the one they are watching. But this does not take away just how connected the movies are. In fact, Marvel uses more popular films as entry points for fans. In my experience, I entered into this franchise through the Avengers movies. I liked them, so I decided to watch more movies by Marvel. Entry points vary for different people. Young people may have entered into the franchise when the newest Spider-Man movie came out, because it's the youngest superhero we've seen in a while. Also, when we find one entrance, it can be hard to not use that to go deeper into Marvel. This picture was taken from the Chicago Tribune on an article titled, "It's All Connected. Here's How the Marvel Cinematic Universe Fits Together," and written by Sarah Amato. This photo shows just how connected all these storylines are. Marvel is an effective transmedia franchise because of how independent yet dependent their films, TV shows, and comics all are. With such a large platform, Marvel is no stranger to grassroots efforts. People that are not employed by Marvel are doing their best to develop stories, move characters, and satisfy their audience. When a series or movie ends, fans often take matters into their own hands. This either takes the form of trying hard for a better ending or adding to the ending that was already satisfying and up to par. One fan, Caitlin Petrokovitz, posted an article in the how-to section on CNET about her opinion on what order the Marvel films and TV series should be enjoyed in. Petrokovitz's article got a lot of traffic. In the comments, you can find people adding to the compilation and thanking Petrokovitz for giving them such a detailed and well-reasoned list. The commenters reflect the common response to Marvel's grassroots efforts. By the fans, it is widely accepted because the more Marvel content, the better. Does it matter if the creators are always the same? Another form of grassroots are the fiction stories written by fans of the franchise. These pieces are called fan fiction. In this way, stories can be told in new ways, different ways, and ways that we never saw coming. Fans are not restricted by any legal rights or overly creative ambitions. Today, wherever we go, whatever we do, social media seems to follow us. In Marvel, social media is used in some ways, whether that be fans making videos recapping the recent release of a movie or creating roleplay social media accounts for their favorite characters. The franchise of Marvel is being expanded in ways Marvel could have never expected. I think that the directions we take our favorite franchises are the directions that matter most. Transmedia is great because you can dive into it as much or as little as you want and still be entertained. Transmedia gives us the choice on how we want to enjoy a certain form of entertainment. I think the most important aspect of transmedia is giving the audience the ability to decide things for themselves, which is why I think Marvel is enjoyed by so many.